Path of Exile 2 is the gruelingly difficult sequel to the best ARPG of all time, where build creativity is actively punished and you're encouraged to play Lightning Spear like 53% of the population in order to combat the very real urge to commit Sudoku.
Dude, what the
But what if you couldn't play Lightning Spear? What if you had to play Spearfield Titan instead?
No, God!
Can I reach the endgame, find all 3 different citadels, and defeat the Arbiter of Ash on a build that nobody's playing? This is Build Roulette Episode 4, let's find out. Before we get in, let me go over some rules. 1, I absolutely must use Spearfield as a main skill in some capacity, either as an AoE for clearing or maybe even single target if it's any good at that. It's a brand new skill, so I genuinely have no idea. And I have to use it as soon as I unlock it at gem level 3. 2, I have to kill things by myself. I'm not allowed to party up with other players for carries or just general progression in any way. 3, I am allowed to trade for gear, but I'm not allowed to trade for any of those 3 fragments from the citadels I'll need to unlock the final boss. I have to earn those on my own. 4, I must get all 4 Ascendancies done. I wouldn't really call it beating the game if I was still missing a couple Ascendancy points, right? And lastly, it's a brand new league, so I'm starting from scratch with nothing in my stash. Okay, great, let's do this. The first thing to do is to create a character. Naturally, I select the New Dawn of the Hunt League and pick the Warrior, which I decide to name Spearfield Titan. Yeah, don't ask. Like all good ARPGs, I wake up stranded on the beach and my journey begins. Humble beginnings and all that. A zombie kills this guy right in front of my eyes, and then I stab him a few times, the zombie, not the guy, and he drops a club. We're off to a great start. With this wooden club equipped, I explore my surroundings a little bit and pick up a shield, as well as this rolling slam skill gem. I run past this checkpoint and start my first boss fight of the run, the Bloated Miller. With a few well-placed rolling slams and some efficient dodge rolling, I take him down without much trouble, get to level 2, and he drops a magic spear. Excellent. I was planning on buying one from the blacksmith right after this, but now I don't even have to. In town, I get an uncut skill gem, which I use to make the Whirling Slash skill gem, which is what I'll be using until I get Spearfield. I check the vendors for movement speed boots before getting out of here, and I actually spot a nice pair of boots with 10% move speed and some fire resistance, but I can't afford it cause I'm poor. Inflation, am I right? Anyways, I leave the town and explore Clearfell. I run around and end up fighting Vera. I get her low and already I die to an AoE that I didn't see right as I finish her off, which means no loot, but thankfully when I respawn I'm still able to get the quest item anyways, so that's cool. I get to level 3 and take out the Devourer without much trouble. Renly gives us our first support gem, and I decide to grab Rage, which I equip to the elegantly named Spear Stab, otherwise known as Default Attack. How exciting. In the Grellwood, I run into an Asmeri Spirit for the first time. These are new from this update, and they can possess rare monsters to make them stronger and drop more loot. Except now that the patch has been out for a while, nobody seems to be able to tell that they drop more loot. But I obviously don't know that yet, so I take it down and get a Regal Shard. Nice. I also meet Delwyn. He's kind of weird. While exploring, I come across Bramblegast, another boss, and I try to take him down. Unfortunately for me, spear attacks are extremely melee and pretty slow, so slow that I don't have time to dodge roll out of the way of his slams, and yeah, this is going great. I come back and this time I still eat the slam, but it doesn't kill me somehow. He drops a skill gem and I turn it into Disengage. More on that later. Over in the Rust Fields, I activate all 3 obelisks and then stab the Rust King to death. It's super effective. He drops a level 3 skill gem. This is great because now I can finally get Spearfield and actually start playing the build we're all here for. So I equip Spearfield and give it the brutality support so it can do more damage. Then the servers crashed and I had to wait a while before I was let back in. By the way, if you're actually interested in trying the build out for yourself, I've got a full written guide over on Mobalytics for you to check out, link down below. Back in game, I entered the Grim Tangle and followed a yellow spirit halfway across the map and then discovered the true power of Spearfield, kiting enemies into them. I just place a few Spearfields down in front of me, walk behind them, and then let the monsters come to me. It's not very flashy yet, but it gets the job done. This is also where I realized what the Disengage skill is good for. Doing backflips to get from point A to point B faster. I'm literally going to be backflipping my way through the entire rest of the game. You better get used to it. In any case, I backflip my way over to the Rotten Druid and poke him to death, since Spearfields are basically useless against bosses that refuse to move, and this oversized Goomba just teleports instead of walking around for some reason. I get another support gem, and this time I support Spearfield with Lacerate, which gives every single spear I place a 50% chance to cause bleeding. This is crucial for the build, as as we'll see later on. Back in town, I spot a small spear upgrade over at Renly's shop, which I immediately switch to since even small upgrades make a big difference this early on in the game. Next, I enter the mausoleum and find Draven. He snuffs me out. Over and over. After 3 failed attempts, I decide to get a little bit stronger before trying again, and go fight his ex-wife Asinia instead. I actually have no idea if they were a couple, but something tells me they were. On the way there, I find another support gem and transform it into martial tempo, which I socket into our trusty spear stab for 20% more attack speed. Default attack go brrr. I continue onwards to Asinia and get obliterated by these annoying little tornadoes twice. Hey, I never claimed to be good at this game, you're the one who clicked on this video, don't look at me. I finally actually reach Asinia and take her out despite some pretty serious lag. I go back to Draven, killing a rare on the way with those annoying purple volatiles that make playing melee feel like a chore. This time my fight with Draven goes a lot better and he drops a unique helmet, which I'm really excited to identify, but I don't have any scrolls of wisdom, so I'm gonna have to wait. I give this guy who's totally not sus some keys and follow him to a memorial where he has an existential crisis and turns into a terrifying monster. I quickly realize the power of kiting this guy into my spearfields, letting them do all the work while I run around the arena in a circle. He goes down, I head back to town and wake up this dude, the hooded one. He has a bit of a speech, but I skip through all the dialogue of course and make him identify all my items for me. Finally, we get to see what the unique helmet is. And it's an Arian's Cobble. This has gotta be the item with the most mods on it in the game, right? It's just got a bit of everything, which is actually pretty great. I'm definitely going to equip this once I reach level 11. I push on through the rest of Act 1, and this happens over in the Oghan farmlands. Yeah, our first Exalted Orb. This is great, it'll definitely come in handy in the future when I want to trade with other players or maybe craft my own items. I also got a new spear from that same mob and decided to use a little Regal Orb on it to see if we can get an upgrade, and luckily it hit attack speed, so yeah, another small upgrade. I head back to the hunting grounds to go hunt down the big bird boss, Crowbell. This guy is one of the coolest bosses in the game from a thematic perspective, IMO. Anyways, I just put some spearfields down here and there, chase him down when he runs away, and then stab him until he falls over. Next up is Freythorn, where I get lost, complete some rituals, and then face off with the King of the Mists. It's a pretty slow fight and not very exciting, and when he actually dies, we get our first spirit gem, which I gladly turn into Herald of Blood. I am really embracing the whole blood themed spears I've going for them, I love it. Herald of Blood is a reservation skill that reserves 30 spirit, but makes it so that any enemies that die while bleeding will blow up and do AoE damage to whoever's nearby. And since Spearfield has Lacerate on it, and one use of Spearfield throws out something like 20 to 30 spears, most, if not all, enemies are going to be bleeding when they die. It just makes our AoE clear so much better. I run into a rare researcher's strongbox and decide to open it up since presumably these are much improved compared to how they were in the first early access patch. And you know what dropped? 2 Regal Orbs and an Exalt, baby. Not bad at all. After that, I watch someone's head roll, rest in peace, and throw down with the Executioner. This was a fun fight. I got hit by a lot of his attacks, but somehow managed to survive each hit, and slowly but surely my spearfields took him down whenever he would try to get closer to me. Back in town, I spot a nice spear upgrade over at Renly again and decide to go all in on improving it by using a Regal Orb and then 3 Exalted Orbs on it. Unfortunately, it doesn't really hit anything amazing, but it is still a massive upgrade over what I'm using, and I know that Act 1's boss is right around the corner, so this new spear is going to make that fight way easier. I move through the ramparts and enter the manor itself, where I have a really close call with these dudes that hit like trucks. But Herald of Blood cleans them up, thankfully. Then I read an unholy scripture and bring this boss to life. Unfortunately for him, he walks around a little bit, so Spearfield takes him out with ease. I get deeper and deeper into the manor and eventually find myself face to face with Count Geonor, the big boss of Act 1. The fight's going well, I avoid his strongest attacks and hit him with some well-placed spearfields that he runs into, and then Phase 2 happens. In Phase 2, he transforms into a big bad wolf wielding a sword, which is pretty badass, and he does this sort of light beam attack that freezes you if you get hit by it. Yeah, I got hit by it. Really feeling that ailment threshold change the devs made, and I don't know that I like it. So I do the only thing I can, try again, get through Phase 1, no problem, and in Phase 2 he goes for an immediate add phase, which is always fun. Somehow, I miraculously survived the light beam attack even though I got hit by it again. A very long and stressful minute later, he goes down and drops a subscriber's orb. That must be new. I head back to town and use a level 5 uncut gem to engrave the Rapid Assault skill, which is a cool skill that does a quick succession of 5 or 6 low damage spear stabs with one final big stab that guarantees a bleed on the enemy and leaves a spear in them, which can be detonated later on. I move all my support gems I had on spear stab over to this instead, hoping that it'll be a more interesting and ideally effective single target damage dealer, but we'll see. With Act 1 done, it is time to move on to Act 2. Oh, Act 2, the classic desert act. How nostalgic. The first thing I gotta do is take out a big bad hyena clan that's preventing the caravan from getting around, so I go and do that. I put my trusty new Rapid Assault skill to the test against Wrathbreaker, and it's got mixed results. It's not bad by any means, but it also doesn't feel like a huge upgrade over the default attack, but hey, maybe I can make it stronger later on. I take him out and he drops a pretty decent rare Vagabond armor with some life, a tiny bit of resistance, and most importantly 32 spirit on it, which will let me use an extra spirit gem once I find one. With the caravan back in business, I fight my way through some mines and get totally blown up by this engineer's kamikaze move that I absolutely did not see coming. I try again, and this time I keep a close eye on what the hell he's doing, and on his death he drops another Exalted Orb. Don't worry, I'm not going to mention every single time I get an Exalt because that'll get exhausting, but it's still early on, so still somewhat relevant. After that, I backflipped through some caves, fighting some spiders along the way, and wound up fighting Bala Bala, the traitor, one of the harder fights for melee characters, I would say. It's a long fight, but she does eventually go down, and I get the very important Barrier item, which is used to access the first trial of Ascendancy, but more on that later. Back at the caravan, I add the Vitality support gem to my Herald of Blood setup so that I have a bit more life regen, which does reserve some extra spirit, but I have plenty left over due to that body armor Wrathbreaker gave me. Then I made my way through the Halani gates with Asala and had a little 2v1 against Jamanra. Thankfully, I'm pretty tanky and don't get one-shot by any of his moves, even the slams, so after many stabs later, he pieces out. In town, I spot a spear of some potential sitting over in Shambrin's wares. It's a better base than what I've got, and it has 5 to 9 fizz damage mod on it already, so I pick it up for some gold and slam a regal on there and hit 63% increased fizz damage. That is huge! Like, I cannot understate how big of an upgrade this is. I hit it with my only exalt and get some flat crit, which is totally fine. Next up is my trip to the Mammoth Graveyard. I don't know what this place is called, but it always reminds me of that level 35-ish zone from classic WoW. Desolus, that's the one. Anywho, I try to stop Skeletor from completing a ritual, but I'm too late and I have to fight both him and a giant undead mammoth. And guess what? This is the fight that Spearfield shines in the most, cause that mammoth does not stop running into my spears, which is hilarious. He goes down really easily, leaving the undead mage dude by himself, who goes into Super Saiyan mode and forces me to actually do mechanics and dodge attacks. I think it's one of my favorite fights of the campaign, honestly. I take him out and pick up the ever-important mammoth tusks for a quest. Then I travel to Keth and kill a snake lady and enter the Lost City, where I fight a bunch of terracotta statues, and you can really see how Herald of Blood is a huge part of my clear right now. The damage is definitely still a work in progress, but the idea is solid. I push on through the endless hallways and eventually find another big baddie, Azarian. He's got a lot of big AoE moves, but I do my best to avoid them and position myself so that he spins into my spear fields over and over. After a couple minutes of this, he drops dead. I go through the Valley of Titans, finding a level 7 uncut skill gem on the way somewhere and turn it into Blood Hunt. This skill makes you dash to your target and give him a big old stab in the heart that deals more damage based on how much blood loss the target has. So the idea is I do a bunch of bleed damage to my target, and then when they're low, finish them off with Blood Hunt. It also does a pretty substantial blood explosion around your target too, so it's well suited for clearing too in combination with Spearfield. In the Titan Grotto, I guess my spidey senses were tingling or something because I backflipped my way over to the giant Colossus dude perfectly. No dead ends, no wrong turns, hell, I didn't even open the mini-map overlay. I don't know how I did it, but I guess it just worked out. Anyways, just because I found the boss easily doesn't mean the fight with him is gonna be easy, and yeah, this happens. Absolutely one shot. What the hell even was that? I come back, slowly whittle him down because Spearfield is pretty useless against him, and after like a couple minutes, he dies. I'm really starting to feel like my damage is falling off again, and that the spear upgrade I just got earlier is starting to fall behind already. I really thought this thing would carry for a while. In any case, Torgul the Defiler is next. I really like how cool this boss is, I mean just aesthetically, and the way he moves. The fight itself is nothing special though. After a long drawn out fight of avoiding his slams, he falls over into a pile of bones and I can finally reach the end of Act 2. Only one boss left. I should probably note here that for basically the entirety of Act 2, I've been about 4 to 5 levels under the zone area level, which is probably why my damage doesn't feel so great. So before I actually go fight the big boss of Act 2, which is a level 32 zone and I'm only like level 26, I decide to farm the Mammoth boss duo again in hopes of finding some upgrades and getting a bit of experience on the way. Unfortunately for me, all I find in 4 or 5 runs is a pair of Thunderstep boots, which are not particularly helpful, and a Black Gleam quiver, which is even less so. I decide to give Jamanra a try anyways, and on the way over I find a level 8 uncut spear gem, which I transform immediately into Wind Dancer for some extra defense, taking off vitality from Herald of Blood so I can fit it in. Jamanra obliterates me. I mean, I try, I really do, but my damage is nowhere near high enough and I run out of potions really quickly, and after about 5 attempts, with the last one being one where I survived over an entire minute in phase 2 without any life flasks left, yeah, I decide I need to get stronger somehow. The most obvious thing I can think of, get ascended. So I go ahead and start the Trial of Sekema, one of PoE2's sort of roguelike-ish modes. I go through it, room by room, stopping rituals, avoiding flamethrower and spike traps. I get lost for a little bit in one of the very confusing rooms, have no choice but to get the awful 40% less damage dealt affliction, and eventually reach the boss of this floor, a pile of rocks called Rattle Cage. I very carefully avoid all of his big explosions and try not to get hit by as many volcanoes he throws at me, just getting some damage in when I can because goddamn I do not want to have to do this over again. After a tense fight, he blows up and I get to ascend to the Titan. Putting my points into Crushing Impact, which is gonna help me inflict heavy stuns on enemies much more easily. Not a game changer by itself, but the node that comes after is pretty impactful. Anyhow, with the Trial of Sekema out of the way, I go through the Dreadnought again, leveling up to 28, and it's time for the long-anticipated rematch with Jamanra. The fight starts off well. I'm taking his hits and dealing a bit more damage than it was last time I was here. Things are going alright, all things considered. And then this happens. Holy shit, that was close. Like 28 HP close. Thankfully he went into phase 2 and didn't follow up with any other attacks. Sheesh! Phase 2 is like a dance. There's just so much going on. Lightning, tornadoes, big slams I have to avoid. It's intense. And long. I save my life flasks for when I'm really low and try to just let my tiny bit of life regen heal me up when I'm not. Now and then he gets heavy stunned, which gives me a small opening to deal some decent damage, but yeah, this is absolutely a war of attrition and concentration. And did I mention how intense this is? Yeah, this is intense. And to make matters worse, guess what? I am out of flasks, and he still has like 20% HP left. I need to clutch this out. Please don't make me have to do this again. As if things weren't bad enough, Jamanra summons his fiery portals, making it that much harder to avoid all of his attacks. And it freaking shows because I get clipped by his slam and brought down to 42 HP. 42! And 5 seconds later, 33! How the f am I still alive? I don't know, but I'm not about to give up now. Actually, I'm gonna just let this play out for you. Dude, my hands are shaking and my heart is beating 1,000,000 times per minute. This fight was peak. I mean, really, I should just end the video here. It does not get better than this. Yep, okay, I'm doing it. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Oh, you want more videos? You're not satisfied with just Act 2? Well, fine then, let's move on to Act 3. Welcome to Act 3, the obligatory jungle act. I make my way over to the main town, fighting Treebeard along the way, who drops another exalt, nice. Then I do some very important jungle exploration, clearing out huge packs of monkeys with my Spearfield and Herald of Blood combo, which is really starting to come together nicely. I run into a giant monkey who literally one-shots me. I come back and get my revenge. Not so scary now, big guy, huh? At this point, I decide to add 2 new skills to my gem setup. The first one is Bloodhound's Mark, a curse-like skill that makes enemies take heavy stun buildup based on any bleed damage that they take. And since we have this whole heavy stun Titan thing going on, it kinda just makes sense to me. It should come in handy for bosses at the very least. The second skill I add is Infernal Cry. Now I probably should have added this a long time ago, but it never even crossed my mind until now. Infernal Cry by itself isn't particularly great, it just sorta makes me yell at enemies and if I kill them they'll explode, which is cool, but when combined with certain passives on the skill tree like Internal Bleeding and Bolstering Yell, it can significantly make us do more damage with our empowered attacks. One important thing to note, Infernal Cry costs a lot of mana to use, so I actually chose to use a level 3 one instead of a higher level one so that the cost is as low as possible. It makes a huge difference. While exploring the Venom crypts, I get a lucky level 2 support gem which I turn into Heavy Swing to support Spearfield for some extra fizz damage while still keeping Lacerate on there for the ever important bleeds. I get the Venom file and choose the Elemental Ailment threshold one since I'm getting frozen way more often than I would like, and hopefully that'll help a little bit. As I'm doing that, I remember that there's a guaranteed Lesser's Jeweler's Orb drop in the first zone of Act 3 that I missed, so I go back and get it. Of course, I use it on Spearfield for an extra socket, and I put Brutality back in there. So now it's Spearfield, Brutality, Lacerate, and Heavy Swing, which in theory should translate to a lot more damage. I keep making my way through this jungle and a unique quiver drops, something called the Lethal Draw, which is a very cool name for a quiver, but unfortunately it's not really worth anything. I get to level 33, which lets me equip a nice spear upgrade I had found earlier at some point that I used an Artificer's Orb on it to give it an extra socket and chucked in an Iron Rune for some extra physical damage. It gives me about 25% more damage, which is definitely appreciated. If you're playing an attack-based build, guys, it is always helpful to keep your eyes open for better bases to pick up and potentially craft onto. Then I found myself in the Azak Bog, where I ran into the stereotypical witch that literally rides her broom like a motorcycle. It's hilarious and I love it. I fight her, she goes down and drops a worthless unique wand, but most importantly an item that gives us a permanent 30 more spirit, which I eventually remember to actually make use of, but yeah, not right away because I'm human and very forgetful. Over in the Chimeral Wetlands, I fight a couple rares and have a bit of an uncut skill gem explosion, getting 3 of them from just 2 enemies. I haven't really been pointing it out yet, but I am absolutely leveling up all of my skills as soon as I can to keep them doing as much damage as possible. I also have another pair of unique boots drop, Corpse Wade. These are pretty cool boots that automatically detonate corpses wherever we walk, but that's not really particularly useful for this build, so I put them up for sale for 1x in hopes that somebody will buy it eventually. Then I fought the Chimera. I had a really close call, but otherwise, this guy was just a giant damage sponge, man. What a long and boring fight. Here I finally find an upgrade for my helmet. I have still been using that unique helmet I found a long time ago, but this one has armor and way more health, so yeah, it's an easy replacement. After that, it's time to fight Blackjaw and Zikuato. They both go down no problem and drop absolutely nothing exciting. I do get a somewhat exciting drop over in the waterways though, arguably the hardest zone in the game, another Jeweler's Orb which I immediately use on Rapid Assault, adding in Close Combat. At this point I'm feeling relatively confident in my character's power, so I decide to give the Trial of Chaos a shot to see if I can get a couple more Ascendancy points, since they would help out a lot. I enter the first room and clear it out of all the monsters. In the next one, I have to survive for a minute and a half, which is definitely tricky since it feels like half of the arena is covered in bloody areas I can't step in, but somehow I manage. Then in the third room, I've got to collect all 3 soul cores and bring them back, and well, one of them is up on this platform, so I have to take the elevator, and god damn it, the blood things fall on me and I get comboed to death by the mobs up there waiting for me. This is bullshit, but what can you do? I try again, and this time I don't pick the terrible downsides like I did last time, and it goes way better. I get to the boss in room 4, a messed up chicken, and he just like regurgitates a bunch of nastiness on me, but thankfully I get out of the way and don't die to that. I finish it off and get a Val Orb and an Exalt, and I stand right up against the big guy posing for the camera. Smile. I pick up my spoils, a crappy hat, staff, and a potentially decent shield, as well as a soul core, and go up to the altar to get my second big ascendancy node, Surprising Strength. This is just gonna make me do way more damage to enemies that are stunned. So this is honestly pretty huge. You know that shield I just found that I said was potentially decent? Turns out it was more than just decent. I put it up for sale for 3 exalts without thinking too much of it, and instantly got whispered by 2 people. It had +1 to chaos spells, some chaos damage, and some generic spell damage on it too, along with a tiny bit of lightning res. So I reassessed and ended up negotiating with the first guy that messaged me and sold it to him for 15 Exalted Orbs, while in reality it maybe could have sold for closer to 50 since this is like day 4 of the league. But I don't care, I'm happy to get 15 when I almost let it go for 3. The first thing I do with my newfound wealth? Why, spend it on a new spear, of course. I look on the trade site and find this really nice spear selling for just 3 exalts, and I go and pick it up right away. I can't exactly equip it right now since I have to reach level 40, but would you look at that, through the power of editing, I'm level 40 now. And when I equip that new spear, my damage goes up by like 60%. Amazing. This is going great. I keep exploring this forge area and I go down a little crane elevator thing, and now it's time to play Dodge the Lava like it's one of those early 2000s browsers games on Miniclip or something. All things considered, it's an interesting fight, definitely different from all the other bosses in the game, and really it's perfect for a Spearfield to do all the work since the guy just does not stop walking towards us, even though every single one of those steps has gotta hurt. Actually, wouldn't it be great if there was like a Lego version of Spearfield? Lego Field? I mean, I'm not saying they should do that, but you know. Anyways, after that I took on the Queen of Filth and Ketzuli, who both posed no threat whatsoever thanks to that new spear I got. Then I go through a portal with Alva and end up...
Hey, you're finally awake.
I kill a few locals and slowly walk up to Viper, arguably one of the hardest bosses in the entire campaign. After making Viper look like child's play, I perform a blood sacrifice and enter the Black Chambers, where I know I'll be going head to head with the boss of Act 3, Doriani. But first, I gotta wait for all the textures to load in. I mean, this is bad. Good thing it's early access, right? I find my way to Doriani's chamber, and now it's time for the big 1v1 with Doriani himself. It's looking good, my damage is solid, I get him down to nearly half health, and then... I res back up and try again, and this time I pay extra attention to whenever he does his lasers. I take him down to 50% HP again, and he goes into phase 2. He gets all his health back, and I guess more importantly takes control of a giant prehistoric mech with a butt laser.
Nani?
No really, you can't make this up. I do my best to dodge as many of his big attacks as I can and have a couple close calls, but somehow I pull through and the mech crumbles under the overwhelming power that is Spearfield Titan. With Doriani defeated, Act 3 is complete, and by extension, the normal difficulty playthrough as well. But this video ain't over yet. Oh no, definitely not. In fact, we are just getting started. Now, normally I would just continue and keep going through the game like I've been doing so far, but I feel like that would get really boring since Cruel difficulty is basically just Acts 1 to 3 all over again, but a little bit faster. So instead, I'm just gonna save you guys a whole bunch of time and skip Cruel difficulty via montage. Okay, cool. I hope you caught all of that. Doriani was an absolute pain in the ass that time with his butt lasers, but eventually I prevailed. With the campaign done, it's now finally time to start making real progress towards defeating the Arbiter of Ash in the endgame, our true goal. Alright, here's a little reminder of our main goal. Defeating? No, destroying the Arbiter of Ash. Now, I'm much closer to accomplishing that than I was at the start, but I still have a lot of progression and grinding to do. For one, I have to go and do tons of waystones to progress through all of the waystone tier difficulties and reach T15s, which is a requirement for entering the Citadels. Speaking of which, I need to find 3 different citadels on this infinitely sprawling atlas, an iron one, a copper one, and a stone one. I should be able to see a beam of light in the fog when I'm close enough, which will let me spot them a bit sooner, and they are color-coded, apparently. That being said, they can only spawn once you're far enough away from the starting area of the atlas, so I have a ton of exploring to do before I can even find one, let alone 3 different ones. To this end, I'm just going to be going in a straight line as much as possible to get far enough ASAP. The third thing I need to do before I can take on the big boss is to get all my ascension points by fully completing the 2 last trials. I'm frankly not looking forward to this, but it has to be done. Lastly, and honestly arguably the most important thing, I need to get way stronger. I'm only level 60, wearing some pretty dang scuffed gear. I've got like 1,600 life, I'm missing tons of resistances, and my damage is undeniably trash. So the first thing I do after dying in my very first waystone, buy some very cheap upgrades for virtually every slot. Some 25% move speed boots, a basic armor shield, a new helmet, a solar amulet with life, res, and rarity, a half decent fizz ring, and of course a new spear. All for 1 to 3 exalts each. With my new gear equipped, I've got just over 2k life now and I'm nearly LE res capped, which is a great start. My damage is also a little bit better. I pushed through the tiers, one waystone at a time, finding a nice prismatic ring with a ton of resistances on the way, and that's going up for sale, as well as this new strongbox I've never seen before. I click on it, and out comes...
Bruh.
An orb of transmutation. What? Oh, it's a Gamba box. Interesting. I click on it a couple more times and get a pretty decent Venter's ring, which I will gladly use for the rarity and spirit it gives. I fight a few bosses and I can sort of see that my damage is getting a bit better as I level up and put more points into my passive tree, which, yeah, as a reminder, I wrote a guide for this build with all the details so that you can look at it if you want to, no pressure. I keep mapping, getting more and more annoyed each time I have to fight rares with the purple volatiles that leave barely any openings to attack, very annoying. I get a Chaos Orb, which, like, funnily I haven't pointed out at all up to this point, but I've gotten like 10 of them already, and they are worth more than exalts, but for some reason I'm like less excited to find them. It's kind of weird. I get to level 74, give Spear Stab another try instead of Rapid Assault for a bit, which doesn't really pan out. I decide to test the Rake skill gem too, since that's all the rage apparently, and I fight a rogue exile for the first time with it. It's certainly not bad, but I don't think I'm gonna stick with it. I kinda like how Rapid Assault feels, even if it doesn't do giga damage. Then I get my first kinda big sale, a very mid triple res belt I found / exalted into, which goes for 40x. I am stoked about that. Then I get an annulment orb, which is also worth something, and use my currency over at Alva to buy myself a greater jeweler's orb for 24x so that I can turn Spearfield into a 4-socket skill. Now my Spearfield setup looks like this. Spearfield, of course, Splinter to break armor, Lacerate for bleeds, Tear for a 50% chance for my Herald of Blood to proc twice, and Heavy Swing for more damage. This feels like a really good setup. I push on to level 78 and spec into a very important keystone that if you were to play the build now is probably less important, Unwavering Stance. This makes it so that I can't get stunned anymore, and let me tell you, I was getting stunned constantly and it was incredibly frustrating. It does come at the cost of not being able to dodge roll anymore, which does take some getting used to. Thankfully, I do still have disengage, so I'm not just like gonna stand there and get hit by slams constantly. Now the reason you might not need to use Unwavering Stance anymore is that a few days after I made this change, the devs nerfed the monster's ability to stun you as much, since this wasn't really a Spearfield Titan exclusive problem. Everybody was getting stunned like crazy. I figure now's as good a time as any to try and do my 3rd Ascendancy, and well, I die. Great. I buy a new ring upgrade for 5x, and already I've made my way up to tier 10 maps or waystones. T15s are in sight. I kill another rogue exile, have 2 exalts drop from 1 rare monster, who then kills me with those stupid purple orbs again before I can even pick them up. Doesn't matter, I still have enough saved up to now buy another Greater Jeweler's Orb, which I use on Rapid Assault, adding in the Cadence gem. So now my Rapid Assault setup is as follows. Rapid Assault, Martial Tempo for attack speed, Close Combat for more damage, Heft for more top-end damage, and Cadence for more attack speed, as long as I don't have too much attack speed. You have to kind of balance it or else your skill goes on cooldown. Then I slam this ring I found with a lot of life and res with some exalts and actually make a great upgrade over the one I just bought not long ago. I get to level 80, and I've gotta say, the build is really coming into its own. I'm dying a lot less and killing things a lot faster and generally just having a good time. Oh fuck. I complete my 3rd Corrupted Nexus, which are these sort of more important maps that unlock a couple Atlas points when you complete them. Well, it was 2 points when I was doing this, but if you're watching this now, then you actually get 5 points for each one, because, yeah, getting these points took forever. I fight my first tier 11 boss, then tier 12, and identify a ruby ring with a lot of potential. It's got fire res, lightning res, some fizz damage, and most importantly, a really high roll on lightning damage, which is absolutely meta. Remember Lightning Spear? So I chucked some Exalties on there and hit 40 fire res and 29 strength. This thing is a beaut. It sold for an entire div within the hour. Sick. I keep mapping and an un-ID'd sapphire ring drops. I get excited because it could be a Dream Fragments. But no, it's just a whisper of the Brotherhood. Boring. I get frustrated in this seepage map because I get cornered up against this little slope that looks like it's something I could totally walk on, but no, you can't. Very dumb. I also notice this orange checkpoint is floating. That's pretty cool, so my anger levels go down a little bit. I level up to 82, get obliterated by this essence mob over here, and come back to kill him, and he drops. Wow, a Greater Jeweler's Orb. Where were you when I needed one earlier? I sell some stuff on the currency exchange, the Jewelers, the Chance Orb, and the Divine I got earlier, so that I can buy another round of upgrades. I pick up a new helmet, some gloves, a body armor I can't equip because I lack intelligence. Yes, that's a double entendre. Another body armor, this time one I can equip, a better amulet, a belt, and another shield. I also buy a boar talisman, which I socket into my gloves for rage generation on hit, and some distilled emotions so I can anoint my amulet with roll and strike. A nice node that is way too far for me to go pick up on the passive tree normally. With all of this, I am now sitting at 2,900 life, and somehow I still have over 50x left over. I enter my first unique waystone ever, the Fractured Lake. While it looks really cool with these pillars that shoot up wherever you go, it's ultimately incredibly disappointing and gives me this garbage ring. 2 maps later, I enter another unique map, this one being the Faril Megalith, which is actually a really cool map. It kind of makes me think of those pillars you have to click on in D2 to go to Tristram, but like it summons a bunch of bosses that you have to fight one after another instead. Anyways, I click on all the stones, kill all the bosses, dying a couple times in the process, and get a Greater Rune of Alacrity, which I sell for 19 exalts. Not bad at all. Right after that, I run into a nameless seer, a merchant that sells random unique items, and I pick up this Death Rush ring from him. It gives onslaught on kill for 4 seconds, which is definitely very strong for mapping and wouldn't be bad for the build, but it doesn't really have any defense on it, so it'd be a pretty big sacrifice. I'll just hold on to it, I guess. After that, I ID a crazy pair of boots that I would love to equip, but again, not enough intelligence, so I put them up for sale for 2 div in hopes that someone else will buy them. Spoiler, they never sold, even though I kept lowering the price daily. Then I did yet another unique map, this time the Wildwood, and yeah, I don't really get the point of it, to be honest. Like, I know what it is in PoE 1, but this here in PoE 2 just doesn't seem like a very good map to me, although I do get a couple more Atlas points for bothering. Speaking of, this is what my Atlas tree looks like. Just a very generic tree. I mean, really, everybody's tree kind of looks the same when starting out, right? I kill Meltwax and get my first boss Atlas points, which specifically make map bosses harder, if I'm understanding it correctly. At this point, I'm level 84, doing tier 13 and 14s, and I still haven't done my 3rd and 4th trials. I'm feeling pretty confident, so this should be a piece of cake. it was not. I did actually get my third set of points though by killing the Scorpion boss, which I put into Mysterious Lineage for now for a decent 15% more life, bumping my life total up to 3365. Not bad at all. I also identified a decent max energy shield Cobalt Jewel, which I sold really quickly for 40 Exalted Orbs. I used my accumulated wealth to buy what ends up being my final spear upgrade. A 490 physical DPS spear with 12% increased stun duration, 81 life gained per enemy killed, 23% increased attack speed, 115 accuracy, whatever, a whopping 216% increased fizz damage, and 1 to 4 flat fizz. Jesus, what a whiff. Imagine what it could have been, dude. This could have been crazy. Next, I get to level 85 in my very first tier 15 map. That's the first of my 4 endgame goals taken care of. Also definitely the easiest, but hey, we're one step closer to the Arbiter. Then I kill this Colossus guy again, and he drops a unique tablet called the Grand Project, which will come in handy later. It lets me teleport to any map within tower range without having to travel through the nodes one at a time, which can save a fair amount of time, since I am still just trying to go in a straight line looking for my first citadel. Then I got this really awesome looking shield drop called the Window to Paradise, which isn't good for the build, but it's got amazing 3D art that I just wanted to show off. Now just look at that. It's beautiful. I get another Greater Jeweler's Orb, level up to 86, fight another Rogue Exile that I had a really hard time seeing in this mess of browns and reds, but when I did see her, she blew up. And here for this clip I wrote in my notes, die to very tanky and invisible white mob lol. Yep, that sums it up nicely. I find my first level 19 skill gem, which I throw on Spearfield, naturally. I buy a new jewel with chance to poison on hit to replace a very crappy one I had found myself a long time ago, and oh look, finally you guys get to see my skill tree a little bit. After that I get to level 87 and this happens. Our very first Tink, and it's a perfect Jeweler's Orb, which I immediately use on Rapid Assault, because I feel like my Spearfield clear is totally fine and I could definitely always use more single target damage. Looking at my atlas, I notice an Untainted Paradise unique map I definitely want to check out, but before I do a quick scan of the fog, keeping an eye out for citadel beams, and find absolutely nothing. I've been pushing the endgame for a freaking week now, and I have still not seen a single one. Are they even real? So I go into the Untainted Paradise in hopes of getting a ton of experience, because that's how it works in PoE1. But no, this is PoE2, and apparently we can't have nice things. It's incredibly rippy, and I die once, which sucks, but I come back and level up to 88 anyways. A few maps later, I run into another one of those Venter's boxes and open it up as much as I can and get a crappy ring, 20 augmentation orbs, an alchemy orb, and a T14 waystone. Lovely. In the very next map, another Ventor's. Can you believe it? Here we go again. This time I get an augmentation orb, an actually decent-ish Ventor's ring, 10 regal orbs, and 20 more transmutations. Well, that sucked. But it's all good, because when I go to put in my next map, I do another quick scan to look around and find a beam of light. Finally! I made it far enough away from the starting point, I guess. God, this took forever. Now I just need to make my way over to it, fight whichever boss it ends up being, and I'll have one of 3 fragments I need to be able to go challenge the Arbiter. On the way over, a couple of things happen. One, I find this kinda cool unique charm called Beara's Anguish. It's not particularly good, since charms kinda suck, but hey, maybe they'll get buffed eventually. In any case, I'll hold on to it. Second, I walked into what I guess was my very first Mire Waystone, which is a goddamn miracle because this is easily the worst map layout in the game, hands down. And I remember it was so common in 0.1.
More swamps, more trudging.
As I'm getting closer to the bright orange beam, I realize something. There is a freaking river in the way. So I go to this tower, and this seems like a great time to use the unique tablet I found earlier. I go and do that, hop over the river, and just like that, 2 maps later, I'm here, and it is time to do my first citadel. Now, I have no idea what to expect here in terms of difficulty. All I know is that I have to use a T15 waystone to enter, which is fine, because that's what I've been doing mostly anyways. But yeah, hopefully the build is actually strong enough to complete this map, because it would really suck if I had to go and find it again. So I walk in, and oh, it's the Dreadnought. I'm gonna have to fight Jamanra again, aren't I? I carefully push through the zone and reach his arena. Can't back out now. The fight starts, and before I know it, phase 1 is done, and he goes into phase 2, and I kill him really easily. No close calls, no running out of flasks, just a very straightforward boss kill that felt like any other. Well, I guess I should be happy. That means the build is performing well, right? I pick up the Fated Crisis Fragment, the first of the 3 keys I need for the Arbiter, and I am super happy that this went as well as it did, although the fight was not nearly as epic as in Act 2. Oh well. I guess this means the other 2 citadels are going to be fights with Count Geonor and Doriani, right? Shouldn't be too bad. Having defeated my first citadel, I decide it's time for another round of upgrades. First, I buy a new ring to replace my Ventors I've been using ever since that first Gamba box I found. I upgrade all my skills to level 19, again except for Infernal Cry, and buy a new belt because guess what? GGG listened and actually buffed belts and charms now. So I pick up a belt with life, res, and 3 charm slots on it, adding in that unique ignite one I found earlier, a freeze immunity one, as well as an unaffected by slows one, and I call it a day. Also, and more importantly, I convert my exiles over to a divine and buy myself an awesome pair of boots with 35% move speed, some life, and even some chaos res on there. Such a huge quality of life upgrade, and it's literally gonna make finding the last 2 citadels like 10% faster. Then I have the most satisfying Spearfield clearing experience ever over in this Chanel map. And have fun with a super speedy shrine over in this Temp Chains map. I did end up speccing into shrines on the Atlas tree since they're like the most fun thing in the game. I get to 89 and throw some Ul Natal catalysts on my rings to do more damage, and would you look at that? Another beam of light, and this time it's blue. Perfect. I make my way over there, running into a rare beast with a Fizz Aura and the all damage can shock mod, so I go straight back to my hideout, grab a Tame Beast gem, and throw my Pokeball at it. I get rid of some Spirit Gems to make room for it, and yeah, this big Antlion is great. My single target damage has shot up now, totally worth catching him. I also find another unique map while trekking over to the Citadel. This time it's something called Castaway. It's basically a beach with a lot of gold, there's a spooky pirate boss, and some buried treasure that you gotta blow up. What's not to like? Right after that, I run into the Silent Cave unique map, which is bugged and can't technically be completed, but I kill the boss anyways and get a bunch of essences for my trouble, which I'll never use. And here I am, at the Iron Citadel. I spearfield my way through the mansion halls and reach Count Geonor. I break his armor with some spearfields. He gets stunned. I stab him a whole bunch. He goes into phase 2. Immediately gets stunned from spearfield again, and I just go to town on him. That was crazy. Another crisis fragment in my stash. Only 1 to go. I buy a new ring with Mana Leech, which is something I should have done a long time ago. This pretty much solves the mana cost of skills single-handedly, which before this I was just using mana flasks a whole lot. I go try my hand yet again at the Trial of Chaos, cause I am still missing that 4th Ascendancy and I need to get it as per the rules. I delete Big Bird, and then die to a full stack of corrupted blood that I can't remove after having beaten the boss. Fan-freaking-tastic. I sell a belt for 50x to a dude that I can only assume is an angry redditor based on his unhinged behavior because it took me more than a single minute to get out of Ultimatum to sell it to him, loading screens and all, some people. In any case, I'm 50x richer, can't complain I guess. I also come across another Iron Citadel, and on the way over to Geonor, oh my god, my first divine, like first divine ever in Path of Exile 2. That's really exciting. Then I kill Geonor and get another fragment. At this point, my damage is feeling really good, but I know there's one item I could get that would make it way better, and that item is the Deepest Tower. I buy it for 45 chaos, which apparently I just have laying around in my stash. That's convenient. Now, the Deepest Tower is a unique helmet that doesn't really do much on its own, but when you combine it with some skills on your passive tree like Stars Aligned and Finishing Blows, and the Execution support gem, you get a stupid amount of extra damage since any monster in your presence counts as being on low life, and all of those things interact with low life to make you do more damage. Also, the helmet looks hella funny. I just look like I'm wearing a chess piece over my head. Now, who better to test this out on than Jamanra? Yep, I found another citadel and it's still not the one I'm missing. Then I run into another one of these actually cool unique maps, the Megalith one, and let's freaking go. Now I've got 2 of these in my stash. Suddenly, I remember that there's this cool unique jewel that exists called the Prism of Belief that gives up to +3 levels to a specific skill. So I pick one up for Rapid Assault for 50 exalts and slap that on there, and now it's time to get ascended for real. Trial of Sakema, it's you or me, man. I go through the first floor and Rattlecage gets obliterated. I get the move speed boon in floor 2 and the twin bosses get obliterated. I run through floor 3 and the Scorpion dude gets obliterated. I go through floor 4 and my honor gets obliterated. I reach Zarok the Temporal and he gets dead. He dies because I kill him really easily because I have so much freaking damage now, and oh my god, it finally worked out. I can finally get all my Ascendancy points. It's a miracle. I respec out of Mysterious Lineage, losing 15% max life in the process, but I grab Hulking Form, which makes it so that all my small passes on my skill tree are 50% stronger. This translates to like roughly 30% more damage thanks to the Deepest Tower, which I will never say no to. With that taken care of, the only thing left on my to-do list is to find a stone citadel, so I can beat up Doriani and get the final crisis fragment. I keep mapping, trying to find that citadel and get a little antsy, so I decide to test my new strength against Zesht over in the Breachstone just for fun. It goes about as well as I'd expect now, and I'm rewarded with a quiver nobody will ever use. Then I fight Jamanra again, cause I'm still not finding a stone citadel, always copper or iron. It's not even a fight at this point. I find another Venter's Strongbox and open it up. A level 20 Spirit Gem, I can use that on Herald of Blood, that's great. And a regular level 20 Skill Gem. Alright, awesome. I leave the map and check the fog once more, and what do I see? Oh my god, it's real. A red beam. This is what I've been looking for the past 7 hours. On the way over, I level up to 90, upgrade Rapid Assault and Herald of Blood to level 20 now that I have enough dex, and find this Val-themed strongbox that drops a leveling crossbow. Here it is, the Stone Citadel. Look at it, admire its glorious existence. Let's go mess it up, dude. I make my way over to Doriani and start my final 1v1 with him, and oh my god, look at that damage! Jesus! With the Weathered Crisis Fragment in my possession, there's only one thing left to do. Go head to head with the Arbiter of Ash. I enter the Burning Monolith, activate a Mysterious Obelisk, and insert the 3 Rubik's Cubes, Crisis Fragments I've been collecting into 3 perfectly shaped holes over on this door. Except I find out it's not a door, it's an elevator. I enjoy the tunes and write it down to a platform and walk right up to the Arbiter. He looks my way and the fight begins. Yeah, okay, I die. I don't really know what I'm doing, but fine, I got hit. I guess next time I'll go in the circle. I try again. His armor breaks. He gets heavy stunned. I rapid assault him all the way down to 1 HP. But apparently it's not over. More circles. I die again. Dang it. 3rd time's the charm. Let's do this. I did it! It's done! My Titan has finally defeated the Arbiter. The challenge is complete. The fight itself was admittedly a little underwhelming, but hey, I can actually say that Spearfield Titan was able to do it, and I'm really happy about that. Here are some fun facts about the run. I killed a whopping 111,954 monsters on this journey. Seems kinda low actually, but whatever. It took me 22 hours to complete all 6 acts, and a total of 66.5 hours to reach and take down the Arbiter from start to finish over the course of 17 days or 2.5 weeks. I ran a total of 221 waystones to get all of my citadels done. Yes, I went and counted them all. I also found 7 extra citadels before I found the stone one I was missing, and I died a total of 167 times. Yup. This video was the biggest project I've worked on so far, taking me well over a month to put together. You know, playing the game, getting the footage, writing the script, doing all of the editing, and then, you know, uploading and all that. It would actually mean a ton to me if you would take the time, not to like, but to leave a comment and let me know that you enjoyed it, if you did, you know, assuming you did. It means a lot more than you would think. Like, it helps out a lot when I read your guys' comments saying that you really enjoy the content that I'm putting together, because I put so much work into this, guys. I mean, you guys can probably guess, but some of you might think it's a lot less than it really is. In any case, thank you so much for those of you that do have the time to do that. It means a lot. Secondly, if you actually do want to support the channel more directly, you can do so by joining the Schwingers Club. Yes, that's what I'm calling it. For the low price of a coffee a month, you can have your name posted on the video, you know, in a banner-like thing. You've seen it a million times now. You watch YouTube. Yeah, I would have done it for this video, but I don't have any members yet, so you could be the first. All right, enough shilling. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.